Attention all dopamine-addicted Rift dwellers, and gamers. There's a new split coming to a League of Legends near you, and Uncle Rito and all its freakish employees have been hard at work trying to fix all the small annoyances that have just septic tanked my own desire to play their game. So I have been on the peanut butter environment serving as an unpaid QA tester, and I have to say I think my favorite change so far is how the music shifts when you enter the jungle. Which I think is actually a bug instead of a feature, but if you think about the immersive factor, imagine how good it would be if they could nail the execution of this. But anyway, some freaky dude made a full rundown video and dwelled on the category of Tristana for a while, so let me summarize what I think he wanted to say during that part.
For a long time, we've pushed a message through the media that marksman non-gender specific beings belong in the bot lane, but that's because they are the strongest scalers with XP out of any champ type, and we always knew if they ever discovered they could be played in a solo lane, it would get out of control, and then we would see pro play abusing it, and they would be disgusting to deal with, because the true problem is XP gap between solo lane and duo lane. But we never expected the idiot kids playing ADC to realize this propaganda of having to play them bot, and now we are literally dicked because we nerfed the hopping rabbit, but now she has like a 12% win rate bot lane. So going into the new split, here's a bunch of changes that should make bot lane ADCs better while keeping them balanced mid.
So naturally, as their hard-stuck target audience who buys all their Lux skins as a distraction from the fact that this community of players are more toxic than Chernobyl's asshole, I decided to test these changes, mid, to see if Freaky Freddy is onto something or if the new season will just mean new problems that we will discover. And like that, we are off, enjoying the amenities of 81 ping that I'm going to pretend has a negative impact on my silver elo mechanics, and I know everyone is eager to see the level 2 Tristana special where you learn to front flip and immediately win lane, and let me tell you, I was too. But the real Trist, no, it's a matter of waiting for that draw of sin to stop being a pussy and step out of turret range so that you can win lane with that one combo. So I quickly learned if I'm gonna be the beta tester of my BFF Freaks changes, I would need to play at least at an intermediate bot level, so the next time she tried to chuck a hoodlum at me, I did a flip knowing she had no orb to carpool me to Stunsville, and with it the easy poke combo was still intact. This continued until our 4th birthday, when she tried to celebrate by blowing her load on me prematurely, which was the only invitation I needed to front flip my rabbit nuts into Pound Town, light a match under her levitating ass, and flash in to spectate her death from a better angle before hitting a dismount back to safety where the rest of the midget wizards were playing. The win con then became extremely simple for yours truly, as I would simply have to wait for her to sneeze, to which I would want to say bless you, but from melee range, so I know she would hear me and know the guy killing her is polite, and thus we had achieved what the high-ranked gods would call lane prio. I used said advantage to roam into the enemy jungle. Knowing exactly where that buzzing sped Jedi would be, and introducing myself as the guy who will be responsible for inflaming his mid laner for the rest of the game, because she couldn't keep me on a leash, and after the successful slay I was in a bit of a pickle and the details are messy, so just know I escaped with style. Anyways, as expected, this one play resulted in their jungler Perma running mid to tax her lane out of spite in their mid AFK typing and flaming him for being bad, because you have to remember this is the PvE environment where only the most honorable of league players are allowed to play, but I don't discriminate against who I abuse, so the 8-eyed samurai got the Gucci flip-flop, hit this bitch and my socks combo, and this lane was mine. But despite the absolute one-sided nature of lane and a perfect example of why the league community deserves to get stuck in a pit of middle fingers, I do have to give Freaky Boy his props, because I feel like the old Tristana with this much advantage would have been able to look a low-level whore at a Halloween party, misfortune support, and eat her in one bite, but something about his tuning made that combo come just short enough for me to have to double down on my hard-stuck special, also known as the greed followed by the feed, so let's put that in the W column for Freak. But in the end it didn't stop the imminent snowball, where I roamed the rift annihilating everyone until the 3 remaining players on the enemy team threw the flag in and game 1 was in the books. But in the midst of me trying to criticize a man trying to make this game better, I did hear him mention this.
There was a long time where her best build was IE Essence Reaver, and no one did it, and it frustrated me to no end, but like turns out getting Rapid Fire back is a really big deal, but no one ever did this build. This build was good. It's still true, by the way. Tristana should just stack AD crit and rely on Rapid Fire for attack speed. Just do it. It's better. Just learn to deal with having low base attack speed.
So you can bet your bottom dollar off that's what I was going to try in game numero 2. This one was against the toddler who carries around illegal doses of Ambien, which seemed like an easy matchup until you consider her personal butt buddy was one of those self-driving junglers who apparently lists mid lane as her home address when ordering shit online, so I was left flashless under 4 minutes in. But that didn't stop me from wanting to stomp baby Rapunzel, only to realize mid-air that autopilot Poppy was back home, so I kited back, declining to catch a crucial beach ball, which kept my heart pumping long enough for a blind kickboxer to arrive like the true hero of Karate Kid and black belt chop these campers down as I just kinda spectated from the back seat. At this point, the second I would get any alone time with the rainbow baby troll doll, I knew if I dodged the tranquilizing rubber bomb I could full combo her, and if I wasn't a grade A pussy about staying out of tower range, I most definitely would have had the ambition to get that last little sizzler, and I needed to get the kill. That said, she came back to lane and was like, okay, if you are going to refuse to sleep in my presence you'll start to feel exhausted, but I wear my whoop band and it tells me my recovery is good enough to fight, and by fight I mean flash away screaming bloody murder while my shoeless partner does all the work until everyone fizzles out, but I still have one big bullet in the chamber, so we come out on top again. And so at this point I recognize most of you guys are watching this thinking, damn, Rav is playing at least a grandmaster level with this flawless decision making and mechanics, and while you're not wrong, I do have to address the incident. Anyways, I did decide to see if the new and improved freak flavor of Trist could still pull off my favorite game, which is Surprise You a Dead Bitch, which started off perfectly, and if it wasn't for me choosing a 3-minute ignite cooldown over a 60 seconds ult cooldown, I would have put it in the flawless execution of an execution category. Then I had the privilege of meeting their bot laner, which was a special day for my scientific studies because he was indeed inflicted with a bad case of Yasuo syndrome. The plan now for me was to accept that even on the days I can't dodge, I will wake up knowing that my combos do more than her combos, which meant my path to victory was going to be smoother than the retinas of the man who kept bailing me out when I would get ganked and things were going well. I had finished the full build as recommended by the Riot employee himself, and it was time to test the Utspa that came from listening like a good boy, and sure enough, the small game of Minesweeper I played on Briar's face did chunk her enough for a silly front flip fail, but a fatality nonetheless, and in short skirmishes I do have to say the build was feeling a bit bullshit, as I could 100-0 my lane opponent in a single combo without ult or summoners, and thus game 2 of mid lane Trist still felt quite strong. But to be a well-rounded unpaid beta tester for Uncle Rito, I had to take my talents to the South Beach and try this bunny rabbit bot. This unfortunately meant I would have to return to the land of relying on another human being, and sure enough, after the very first play I saw from this pike, I just knew that somewhere out there a village was missing its idiot. But then again, I was the guy who brought an ignite to a heal battle, so I can't talk too much myself, as all I could do was hope for an even trade, which ended up being better for me. But the dipshit decided to double down by engaging in a game of patty cake when I wasn't there to tell him that it's dangerous, but thankfully the tower is a homie, so I was able to complement her attacks with a quick sniffle to avenge the asshat who was playing support. A few minutes later we were both one bard's fart from meeting our maker, but after the previous game I had a newfound hope in blind kickboxers, so I stuck around knowing my bald bumbling muppet of a support would die, but if I tickled the waterbender I could come out of this with a small stimulus check. But for some reason this Nyla, despite dying on every trade, was obviously the stronger ADC. I'm sure there will be chirps of tempo or skill issues in the comments, but all I know is that every time we would fight I would just have to sit there with my dick in my hand while her kit let her not receive auto attacks long enough for my support to slip back into a coma, and only then could I actually do damage to her. But the silver lining here was that her queef healing goat was about as effective as a muted chiropractor video when left alone, so I would just get to slowly escort her health bar to its destination of 0 in peace, knowing that I was getting paid big time after this. At one point we caught their Soraka more out of place than a non-lubed up genital at P. Diddy's house, which did end up revealing their tassel whacking ADC was up to no good, but we had the numbers advantage before Calcep could arrive to the party, and at this point, if you ignore the fact that I was being spoon-fed kills, I can honestly say bot lane Tristana was feeling just as good if not better than mid. Due to my Pike's board certified ineptitude, we did lose tower first and were getting pushed in harder than a chewed piece of gum on the bottom of a shoe, but this Nyla got so used to expecting Pike to be an ATM that she didn't realize my little cannon shitters were getting stronger and I could insect her back into tower range, so the greediness ended in feediness and I got to slap around the Enchantress Unicorn a bit to celebrate. But I do have to say, these kids having asked to grass pedal to the goddamn metal all game was somehow surprisingly effective, as even into a gank this Nyla's 200 years of collective game design W was enough to make the three of us focusing her instead of the fragile goat next to her a bad time for us, and even though I did take her down, this was the first that we see the villain of the next ranked season. That said, we'll get to that later. For now, I wanted to give props where props are due, because Freak said he wanted to make Triss less reliant on levels to reward getting ahead in bot lane as her, and normally despite being fed you would see a top laner 2 levels ahead of me and know I would lose this fight 9 out of 9 times, but whether it was my absolutely mechanical flawless gameplay or these changes actually fixing some things, this fight went the way I had hoped it would. The waterbender was still wreaking absolute havoc on the rift, but with the newest changes and 2 items I felt like I had the power to still nuke a priority target, yet I wasn't so brain dead strong that I could super duper misplay like a dipshit and still survive, and I think that is a good sign of balancing in the right direction. With the added bonus that I was still strong enough to do this. But you know what they say, when one bullshit problem in League of Legends gets fixed, another one pops up. And we were getting a glimpse at what surely will have to be the theme of Freak's next monologue, as this was a problem. Rav out.